everyone, I'm Kelly and this is Kelly Hill Yoga, 30 Days of Yoga, day 26. And today we are going to create some space within our practice and open our hearts. And we're going to do so just really opening up and getting a nice stretch, especially across the chest, the pecs, shoulders, and maybe even doing a little bit of back bends, but just keeping everything very beginner. I promise you, nothing too crazy. And when you're ready, let's get started. Come to a nice comfy seat in this easy pose on your mat. Legs crossed, hands just gently rested on your knees. You can have your palms face up to the sky if you like, or face down, just whichever makes you feel as grounded as possible. Start to bring yourself inward. Create space with each inhale. Creating space in the chest, your mind by cleansing it, getting rid of all those cobwebs, negative thoughts, negative energy, and just really opening yourself up for this practice today to allow yourself to be open, mindful, even a little vulnerable at times, especially when we're in certain poses. We just feel very exposed, and that's okay. Not overthinking this, just keeping the breath gentle, mindful. And we'll start by just kind of reaching the arms up, kind of creating these big circles. So arms up and overhead, wiggle those fingers. Exhale, cactus arms, pulling the shoulder blades together. Inhale, arms up and overhead. Exhale, cactus arms, really pulling those elbows down and away. And then on this last one, let's inhale, arms up. And then just really pull that heart space, chest forward as we bring those arms down. Awesome. Gently come back to this neutral position, and let's take the right hand, place it on the top of your head, and then gently guide your head over to the right, using your hand for leverage. You can choose to keep your left hand just gently rested on your knee. If you would like, you may take it out to the side, gently resting your fingertips on the mat. And just playing around with how much tension you want to add or take away with that right hand pulling gently on your head. Gently release your head, bring it back to neutral, as gentle as possible, and we'll take it to the other side. So left hand comes to the top of the head, and then we will gently pull our head over to the left, just guiding it, not necessarily pulling, just guiding it over to the left side. Keep that right shoulder really pulled down and away from your ear, your right ear. Then you may keep your hands on your right thigh, or if you want to, you can just gently place those right fingertips softly on your mat. I know we've talked about this before in previous practices, but just really releasing any tension or stress you might be holding in your neck. It's just a fantastic way to open up to the rest of the practice. It just releases any last little bit of thoughts, negative energy we might have still holding on to us, still clinging to us as the day goes, or as our practice goes on. So just spending some love releasing any of that last little bits that are trying to keep us just not so self-centered, self-focused when we're on the mat. All right, let's reach both arms up. Really finding height. Exhale, twist to the right. So your left hand will come to the right knee and your right hand will reach behind you. Gentle twist. Inhale to find height. Exhale to find depth. Gently come back to neutral. Inhale, arms up and overhead, finding height. Exhale, twist to the left. Right arm goes behind you. Or sorry, left arm goes behind you. Right hand goes on that left knee. Inhale to find height. Exhale, find your twist. Awesome. Gently come back to center. Let's clasp the hands behind our back, down by your tailbone, by your booty. And then we're just going to pull them, setting the shoulder blades down and away from our ears, really pulling them together, opening our chest. You can choose to just stay here with this nice little chest opener. Or if you'd like, you can try and take those clasp hands behind you and just pull them gently away from that tailbone, from your booty, gently guiding them along the ground to pull it towards the back of your space. Just really opening up. Once again, you can choose to stay here. If you want to take it even a little bit step further, you can take the head and drop it back. If you had your head back, gently bring it back to neutral. Release the clasp in your arms and just kind of shake out any little bits in the shoulders we might have. And then we will come to tabletop. Just roll through a couple of rounds of cat-cow. So hands under shoulders, really setting ourselves up before we do this. Knees under hips. Really push the earth away in order to find space between your shoulders, creating space, really finding, almost like if you tried to push those shoulder blades down by like kind of adding weight to it, you're not feeling it dump. You're just really nice and strong and proud, pushing the earth away from you. Belly button pulled towards the spine, just activated, not contracting anything crazy. Just stay here for just a moment, making sure we're nice and set. And then inhale, lift the chin to the sky, really drop the belly. Exhale, tuck the chin to your chest, roll up through the spine, belly button pull, trying to get it almost like you're trying to get it to touch your spine. Inhale, lift the chin, drop the belly. Exhale, belly button to spine, rounding through cat pose. Just rolling through a couple of rounds on your own, really finding any little bits of wiggles or shimmies you feel like you might need to do, whether it's rocking from side to side, doing some super sexy hip circles, or just rolling the shoulders a little, just waking things up before we get into any bigger movements that we might have planned or that we do have planned for the rest of our practice. When you're ready, we will meet back in a nice neutral pose or neutral spine. And then ensuring we are keeping the knees under the hips, let's walk the hands out in front of us. And if you need to shift to stay on your mat, that's totally okay. If your hands walk off your mat, that's okay too. So keeping our hips over our knees, let's walk the hands out for puppy pose. So we're just going to gently pull the chest towards the earth. And if able, you can rest your forehead on the mat, or if you have a block, it's totally okay to use a block under the forehead. If you can't quite get there, I'm just thinking about being open, strong and stable, really feeling your shoulders, lats, which is those muscles, down the sides of your back and sides. Feeling everything start to open up, release. Take a deep inhale, and as you do so, really pull that heart towards the earth. Exhale, release. Inhale, pull the heart towards the earth. Exhale, release. Awesome. Let's gently shift the hips forward and come down onto your belly. And if you have to adjust like I do, it's totally okay. Bring the hands underneath the shoulders, and we're going to gently go through some kind of spinal rolls. So keep the elbows, don't let them flare out. Keep them nice and tucked inside or into your sides. And we'll just inhale, rise to a little baby cobra. Exhale, roll the spine down. Inhale, rise, little baby cobra, heart pulled forward. Exhale, lower down. Inhale, rise, little baby cobra. Exhale, lower down. Beautiful. Now let's take the hands really wide. So fingertips just up on the fingertips of your hands, arms nice and wide. And we're going to do the same thing. So inhale, cobra. Exhale, lower down. Thinking about pulling the heart forward as we rise. Inhale, cobra. Exhale, lower down. Last one. Inhale, cobra. Exhale, lower down. Beautiful. And now let's open up the shoulder. So we will take our right arm, put it at about 45 degrees with your shoulder joint. So having your elbow a little bit higher than your shoulder, or if you want, you may have your arm outstretched. Just kind of play around with this. So having a nice bend, elbow just a little bit above the shoulder. And let's push with your left hand against the ground and almost roll onto that right side to find a nice stretch in that whole front side of the right shoulder. Like I said, play around with your elbow if you need to bring it up a little bit. And when I say your right elbow, just kind of play around with the placement of your arm. It's really nice when you have it just above the shoulder. And yes, this is kind of funky with how your legs are, but just coming up, rolling up onto that right side. Your left leg can rest with the right, or if you want to bring it behind you to have that left foot at your booty, that's okay too. Staying here, just really opening up. Gently lower back down. Take your left arm, make it like a little cactus arm like we did on the right side, and then take that elbow just a little bit above the shoulder so it's at a bit of an angle, keeping the forearm on the ground. And then take your right hand and just kind of push the earth away from you as you roll onto the left side. It's kind of awkward to have to figure out where you want your legs, just where everything places, where you can find comfort and stability. Like I said, it's totally okay if you just want to stay on your side with both legs extended, but it's just a really nice little baby hip opener if you want to bring that right foot behind you at your glutes. As I'm kicking the wall behind me. Once again, if you want to play around with that left arm just a little bit by sliding it up or down to intensify it, you totally can. Gently roll back to your belly. And then let's take the hands, reach back towards your feet. So palms face down, hands to fingertips reaching towards your feet. Inhale, we'll rise to locust. Arms and legs come off the ground. Really thinking about squeezing those big toes together. Imagine there's a block between your thighs, squeezing everything, really reaching back with those fingertips. You can stay here for a few rounds of breath, or if you want, you may grab the ankles So bending the knees, grabbing the ankles, and rise up as you pull those ankles away from the grasp in your hands. Come into this bow pose. So really pulling those feet away from the hands, just to beautifully open up the whole front side body, but it's totally okay if you want to stay in locust. Staying here for a few rounds of breath, still squeezing everything to midline. Exhale. Gently release. Release that hold you had on your hands if you were in bow pose. Shift the hips up and back. Child's pose. So let's take the knees nice and wide. As I adjust a little bit, nice wide leg child's pose, arms out in front of us, and just having this really nice counter pose to opening up the front side of the body is just fantastic at creating symmetry and balance within your practice. Let's come back to the breath, cleanse out a few more cobwebs that just might be hanging out or any negative thoughts, still creating space. Being as open to this practice as you can possibly be. Gently walk the hands back to come up to a nice seated pose. So we're going to kind of do like this camel dancing or dancing camel pose. So we're just going to place one arm or left arm kind of at this left glute or down on the mat as we sweep the right arm up and overhead, pulling the hips up and forward. Exhale, bring it down. Right arm comes behind that right glute. Left arm sweeps up and overhead. Just having a little back bend as we lift the hips. Shifting sides, keeping this dynamic. So sweeping back to the left, right arm comes up and overhead as we lift the hips. Exhale. Roll through that spine. Place the right arm behind you. Reach up with the left. So we pull the hips forward. Last one. Up and overhead. Just really waking up the spine. Left arm up and overhead. Exhale. Back to neutral. Just staying nice and tall. In this kind of where we're sitting on our feet. And then we can walk the hands forward and shift up into downward dog. So in this downward dog, we're just staying nice and grounded through that thumb and index finger. Inhale. Three-legged dog. So really lifting that right leg up. Exhale, knee to nose. And we're going to step to the outside of the right hand. So up in this runner's lunge, keeping the back knee lifted. Leave your left hand on the mat. Hips really nice and low. Reach that right arm up and overhead for this nice twist. And then gently, staying in your twist, gently lower that back knee and grab that foot, your back foot, to come into this nice twist or quad stretch with a little back bend. So really keeping that chest pulled up towards the sky, really opening up, really deepening your twist. So we're grabbing the top of the foot. If you need a strap for this, that's totally okay. One way is not better than the other. You will have the same benefit. Gently release that foot, not letting it sling back by any means. And then we will bring the left foot and then we will step back to our downward dog. Awesome. Really reset in this downward dog, hips pulled up and back, opening up the whole back side of the legs. Inhale, left leg up, three-legged dog. Really thinking about lifting it to the sky. Exhale, knee to nose. With control, step to the outside of your left hand. And this beautiful runner's lunge. Right hand stays on the mat as we reach up with the left hand. Awesome twist on this other side. Gently lower that back knee, and then with that left hand, grab your right foot. So thinking about staying in this twist, heart pulled up, little back bend. Gently release that back foot, not letting it sling back. Both hands come back to the mat, and we will step your right foot up to meet the left. So forward fold. Just hanging out here for just a moment. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, root to rise, arms up and overhead. Exhale, palms to our chest. Pulling our attention back in to create that space, create that energy, positive vibes. We're trying to emanate to the world. And then let's take both hands, clasp them behind our back, opening up the chest. Very similar to how we did this in seated. So stay nice and grounded in your feet as you pull the shoulders down and away from the ears. And then let's pull the hands away from the tailbone to really open up the front. If you want to, you can even drive those hands towards the earth to have a little tiny back bend. Your chest pulls up towards the sky. If it does not disorient you, you can drop the head back. Very similar to what we did when we were seated. Or if you want to just keep your head straight out in front of you, or straight and neutral, that's totally okay. And then let's fold forward, hinging at the hips, keeping our bind. Really thinking about trying to get those arms up and overhead. Beautiful. Gently release that bind, letting your arms hang down, the blood kind of rush back to them as we shimmy and shake. Just letting the blood come back to those arms. Inhale, halfway lift, hands on the shins. Exhale, plant the hands, step back to plank. Push the earth away from us, bend the elbows, lower down chaturanga to up dog. Exhale, hips up and back, downward dog. Awesome. Let's gently come down onto our knees. And then our booties. Legs straight out in front of us as we set up for staff pose, which it seems simple, but this is actually can be very, I don't want to say difficult, it just can be a lot more intense than you would think, just sitting here with our legs out nice and tall up through the crown of the head. And let's plant the hands just at the hips. If you have longer arms, it's totally okay if you need to keep a little bend in the elbow. All of our anatomy, everyone's different. So if you have really long arms, keep a little bend. And your elbows will bend back, not out. keeping your arms really nice and tucked into your side. Ground through your hands as you pull the chest up, forward, and open. Almost like you're trying to lift yourself off the ground with those hands. Nice and tall up through the crown of the head. If you need to keep a little bit of a bend in the knees, that's totally okay. Shoulders pulled down and away from the ears. Imagine there's a pencil and you're trying to keep it between those shoulder blades. Gently release that tension that we were having with that pushing that earth away. And then we will come to roll on our back. We're going to get there nice and slow. So let's plant the feet, knees a little bit bent, still sitting up. Reach the arms out in front of you, and we're going to slowly lower back, one vertebrae at a time, as slow as you can possibly go. Beautiful. And not holding your breath during that. Practice what you preach, right, Kelly? Not holding your breath during that. And then we will come in to have our soles of the feet on the mat. And lifting your hips. Imagine somebody is placing their hands on either side of your hips and lifting them up as we press our palms into the earth, lifting those hips up, really squeezing the thighs together, and then to really open up the front and across the chest. Clasp the hands underneath the tailbone and kind of walk your shoulders underneath. Keep that chin just slightly tucked so we're not crunching in the cervical spine or the back of the neck. Really driving down, being grounded with your feet, squeezing the thighs together. Gently release that bind with your hands if you had it, and slowly lower down one vertebrae at a time. And we'll take our feet, kind of bring them in close together, and then let's just let the knees fall out to the side for this reclined butterfly. You can plant your hands on the insides of your thighs, just for a moment, just to kind of like take the warmth from your hands to release any little bits of tension you might be holding there. And now let's close the eyes, place both hands on the belly. Really having the shoulders relaxed, not holding any tension anywhere. If you want to have a block under each thigh, that's totally okay. And let's just take a moment to feel how open we can feel in this posture, how we feel vulnerable. You may feel vulnerable, and that's okay. Release. And both hands on the belly. Let's take a deep breath into the belly. Really create space in your belly. Exhale, release. And just go through a couple of rounds of that, creating space in the belly, and then releasing. Feel the rise and fall. Feel the physical energy that your breath brings in. The space it creates from something you cannot see, but it still is able to fill our belly, fill our lungs. Negative energy and thoughts have the same ability to fill our mind. So practices like today, where we are creating space for that positivity, creating space for yourself. Because we may have thoughts of what we need to do for so many others. It really is important to create space for yourself. Just with the breath, nice and relaxed. And then let's gently bring the fingertips to the outsides of the thighs. Bring the knees in as we roll to one side and hang out on our sides, just letting our head fall to the mats. In this comfy little sleepy pose. Or people say fetal position, I call it sleepy pose. Just hanging out here for just a breath. Really feel your hips ground. When you're ready, gently press up. Back to easy pose or back to how we started. And let's just take a moment to soften the gaze or close our eyes, hands at our heart. Nice and tall up to the crown of the head. Still keeping that thought of positivity and self-love. Show gratitude for yourself. As always, thank you so much for spending this time with me. I love you.